Well, it might be the middle of May or the end of May, but we are here in snowy, beautiful New Zealand. Yes, the opposite side of the planet to where it is summer for most of us right now. It is the wonderful world of hobbits and sheep. Yes, we're down here at Glentanner Aerodrome on South Island, New Zealand, and I'm playing to do with NZA Simulation's new pack of the Mount Cook region. So we have Mount Cook, the whole Tasman Valley with the glacier and the river down here to Glentanner Aerodrome. We have Mount Cook Airport and a bunch of huts which are either accessible by glacier landing or by helicopter up on the mountain. So a really cool place to play, and I thought, you know what, this will be a blast to go flying up here. We'll take the Milviz Porter on some skis. We'll go play in the mountains. Should be a blast. Only thing I need to do is remember how to start the Milviz Porter. Now, I do recall I want to get rid of these bloody things, and I forget how to do that. There we go. Go. No, go away. Thank you. Go away. Where do I click you? Oh, there we go. We clicked it. We clicked it. We got it. We got it. Okay. Now, let's see if I remember this. Let's get my avionics and batteries turned on. Remember to set that to the correct positioning so it actually remembers it. And, of course, I've gone and been stupid. Okay, so we actually have set this properly now. I have my controls where they should be. Although, apparently, I don't have control over... That's my throttle. Okay, good. Okay, that is my prop. And I forgot that's in the middle. Okay. We're good. We're good. We're good. We actually have things functioning as we intended to now, which is a good start. I had my twin jet profile set up still, which is something that, of course, I don't fly very often. Let's get this thing started up. Let's get our avionics buses turned on here. Get the Garmin suite switched on. Remember to actually press the right button there. Okay, that one. That'll do. Okay, cool. We're starting. It's lining up. We have, of course, the updated version of the G1000, the correct one, which is compatible with this aircraft. So I need to turn on my fuel pump, I think. Okay, ignition of the starter needs to be there. Fuel pump's on. Okay, there's a good. So ignition and starter turned on with the fuel cut off. Let's make sure that's set to off. Spool this thing up. Did I put the fuel in? I did. Keep that cut off for now. Let's watch our engine start to spool. Where's my... Okay, I think we should be good to introduce fuel here, if I remember correctly. And we have a good start. Okay, I'm not as brain dead as I remember being. It's always a benefit right now, isn't it? So our flight today is taking us up the Glentanner Valley, as you'll see here. Stopping at Mount Cook. And then we proceed to go up to the top, where we're heading to Saddle Hut, Tasman Saddle Hut, which is on the Tasman Pass up at the top. So should be a nice little trip today for us. More than capable with this aircraft, so let's quickly pull up our iPad. Now, we will need to put the skis on, of course, and we will need to have our passengers and cargo. We're going to be taking supplies up, which will be a much more fun experience. So we'll take up 1,500 pounds of supplies. Should be more than manageable. And our fuel is good at about half tanks. So we're set up with everything we need here. Let's get ourselves moving, shall we? Alright, let's remember to bring our prop down into low. And we'll raise our parking brakes. Which, when I turn my head on, will put us in a fantastic spot. So let's work out how to taxi up to the runway here at Glentanner. We're flying the Air America aircraft, of course, because what other Porter skin do you really need? That, and I can't find my Red Bull one. And I do need to set my rudder trim before takeoff today, so we'll make sure we do that. Wind's 3 knots, so we're not going to be too troubled with what direction we're taking off today. We are going to be taking off, though, up the valley. So before I enter here, Where is it? It should be displayed on one of my screens. Or there is an indicator somewhere. I recall that being the case. Oh, let me turn those off. Those are good. And where's that rudder indicator? Oh, it's right there. Oh, it was the other way, wasn't it? It was the other way. Okay, we should be good for takeoff there. We'll reset it once we're in the air. But rudder trim is important when taking off with the Porter. We're not going to bother with any flaps for this departure. We don't need them. And as you'll see on the exterior of the aircraft, we have got our skis mounted, which will be very useful for this trip. So this airport is gorgeous, by the way, Glentanner here. Beautiful add-on. The NZA simulations is €18, which is rather cheap. So I'm totally on board with that. Okay, let's get ourselves rolling here. Stays nice and true with the rudder trim in place. Speed's built up. Ooh, a little bit slippery on the ice. Ease her off the runway. Keep the angle low. Stay in ground effect. The runway drops away so we can afford to keep our nose down here. Let's pull in that trim, shall we? Okay, we're good. So we're going to start our climb out now, up towards Mount Cook itself. This is going to be the Tasman River down here. You can't see it, it's frozen, which I'm not sure how realistic that is, but it's what we're experiencing right now. Okay, let's reset our position in the cockpit, and we'll begin climb out here from... I don't remember which is my correct throttle in this one. Let's manage our power settings a little bit beforehand. Get ourselves neutralized here. We don't want to be running this thing too hot. As in fact we run it too hot. Turbines are always my weak link. They're the one thing I can't properly correctly manage. I know something's flashing and I should definitely reduce it. Why are you going up? Oh, I'm doing terrible, terrible things to this engine. We'll go with that. Much better. So we're climbing out at a whopping 90 knots right now, but once we get up we should be fine. And this will also be a great performer for high altitude, as the Porter is very good for, well, high altitude, heavy loads. We're carrying 1.5 tons of supplies. A lot of supplies. We'll get up to Saddle Hut. We'll make our delivery to the climbers camp up there. We'll pretend there's a climbers camp up there. It's on top of Mount Cook, so why not? It'll be a base camp location. Scientific equipment and supplies for climbers. So we should be heading up towards Mount Cook Airport, which will be just up the valley for us here. And we're flying into the sun. This is live weather right now, so I will have to ask my New Zealand friend if this is what it currently looks like on the South Island. He lives in Christchurch, but I suspect it would be its middle of winter. Remember, New Zealand is the opposite side of the world, so not only do toilets go the wrong way, but so does the weather. Although I hear the sheep are treated just as lovingly as some parts of the Northern Hemisphere, notably Wales. Climbing out with no real issue here. Performance is looking good right now on all our gauges and instruments. Mount Cook will be just up ahead down below on the left, so we'll take a quick look once we get closer. But this whole pack from NZA Simulations is this whole region, it's this whole valley, and I will post a link in the description for you where you can see what this includes. But for the price of, let's be honest, an aeroplane, you get this whole valley with 2 airports and a bunch of huts and glaciers to land on, landing strips up in the mountains, and helipads. So if this is your kind of thing, you could really get some fun out of this. I do like New Zealand, it's always a good excuse to fly down here, and honestly, it looked fun. They've done a pretty good job from what I've seen. Well, hitting the glacier just up ahead, you can see it starting to form off in the distance. So that's where the terminal moraine lake is located there, and that's our glacier's kind of snout. So Mount Cook should be down here somewhere. Or perhaps a little further up, but it is down there. Is it down below me directly? It's right there. Okay, we're good. We'll swoosh over to the side a little bit. I don't think the snow really shows it off the best it could be, because obviously it is winter here. But between the various mesh upgrades for the region and, frankly, beautiful scenery to start with, this is some nice flying. This reminds me of Alaska, just with roads. What have we got down there? So we'll swing it to the valley side here. Of course, mountain flying 101. Don't just go up the middle like I was just doing like a lazy moron. You always want to stick to the side, because if you have to turn around, it gives you more turning circle. There we are, Mount Cook Airport down below. Not a huge airport, but definitely a fun one to fly through. And a little trickier with the snow on the runway. Now, I'd asked my New Zealand friend to comment on the video, but I believe every third word would begin with C, and usually involves something to do with next Tuesday. I love New Zealanders and Aussies. They are phenomenally colourful with their language. And as a Brit, I can appreciate it. Americans perhaps think them a little bit rude and vulgar, but it doesn't bother me. I love it. It's it's honest, I think, is the word I want to look forward this. But we're going to be heading up the valley now, and this is an important one because this is a glacier, so it's climbing with us. If you're flying up here in a normally aspirated engine, you're going to have to worry about altitude and about your ability to get up a valley. Now, this is what we'll refer to as a dead-end valley, because it will terminate at the glacier's source. As we climb up, it'll get narrower and higher. Now, one major killer in mountain flying is climbing valleys, dead-end valleys. You go up and up and up, and you've got nowhere to turn around, because once you reach the end of the valley, it starts to climb and narrow. If your engine hasn't got the goose behind it, you're in trouble. Big, big trouble. Because you will not be able to get out of that situation. You'll try and turn around, which is why being at the side is important, not in the middle. And you will run out of altitude, and you'll have controlled flight into terrain. One of the biggest killers in Alaska. Learning to read valleys in your aircraft's performance is a huge part of that, and understanding what you can and can't do. Because if you don't know what you can't do, it's going to happen to you. It even matters in flight sim. Try flying through British Columbia or Alaska in the mountains there, in various valleys, without really having a plan. You'll be at altitude, you'll end up stuck, and you'll end up in a situation where you end up crashing because you simply can't get out of it. And often, you'll realise far too late to fix it. Learning to read the valley ahead of you and decide what you can and can't handle is important. Without that, you're in big trouble. Because by the time you realise you're screwed, you've got no other choice. That is unfortunately the case. So if I was in a Cessna right now, 206 or something, and I looked at some of these valleys to the side, that one I could probably try, but it might get tricky. Because I can see how steeply it's climbing and what my performance will likely be like. Right now we're at 4,500, so I'm probably good to actually hop up above that. But if this was another 3,000 feet higher, so it's 7,000 now, and that's heading up to 9, and that's a naturally aspirated 206 that's not turbocharged, I would not consider it. It would be too dangerous. So we're heading towards the snout of the glacier here, and the pictures they posted looked phenomenal. Obviously with the frozen water, which I think is more flight sim thinking it's winter, let's freeze everything. Mr. Freeze! It's perhaps not the best idea. Pull the power back here, we'll drop down a little bit towards these chunks of ice breaking off the glacier. It's much rockier than I think I've seen most of the glaciers simulated in the sim, which is super cool. And this scenery is breathtaking. Wow. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I think with water and non-frozen landscape this would look a lot more breathtaking, but especially with the brilliant blue you'll see in a glacial kind of terminal lake. You'll see here, this is where the glacier's retreated. This is where it scraped along the sides of the valley and pushed the material. That's the moraine there at the side. And this is retreating. There's obviously global warming and other factors. Glaciers retreat. But look at that. That is phenomenally well created. I love that. So also, glaciers look smooth in so many depictions in simulators, but you'll notice that huge crevice there, realistic. That is super realistic. You look at the surface of this glacier and it is pockmarked and it is bumpy and it is holes and ravines, rifts. It is nasty stuff. These are not the sort of thing you just land on because giggles. So we're going to be heading round here and kind of a curve to the right, so it should take us round towards where we're heading to. And right now, we've got some altitude and some airspeed. We're climbing up as it is. We've dropped a little bit from where we were earlier to look at the features, because I do love my geography. Let's put some power on this thing and get ready for a climb, because we too, even at a turboprop, can end up in trouble. This thing hasn't got whopping performance, so with a heavy load on board, we're going to have to be a little bit alert as to what we're experiencing here. So I'm going to set us at a slight climb, and we're going to start kind of picking up a little bit here. That pock marking from this altitude, trust me, is much worse down there. Because the snow, fresh snow on top of a glacier, will cover all the cracked ice, the chunks of broken ice on the surface down below, and it will be a monster. I did once fall into a peat bog up to about my mid-thigh when I was on a field trip at university. We were studying a hanging valley that had been formerly occupied by a glacier, and we were looking at the various features, and we were walking around in the bottom of it, and of course I put one foot in the wrong place, and down I go to mid-thigh. And as you'll know from peat bogs, my legs were then orange to that point for about the next couple of days. It was an experience, that's for sure. Bit of a chunk of scenery up there, but the rocks below it look kind of nice. I'm not sure what that would be. There's some sort of derp in the simulator. And here we see up ahead, look at that climbing away from us now. This is where things start to get a little bit more kind of focused on the aircraft's abilities and what you think of what you can do with this. So if I was going to try and get over that ahead of me, directly over there, probably a little bit optimistic. And if this was naturally aspirated, I'd definitely be questioning that from the distance. But what you can do is, if you have room, like a wide valley like this, you could circle and climb. So we could go to the far right side of this, and we could start to climb upwards. Just circle the plane, climbing at whatever rate you've got, until you have the altitude to cross. That is often the safest approach, because if you end up over there trying to get over it, realizing you're not going to climb in time, and then try and turn, you might be in trouble. So I'm going to have to pile on a bit more speed here. Push things a little far. Because we are going to get a little short on terrain up ahead. That's not feeling optimistic with what we're dealing with right now. So we are going to do a circle. Because I'm not feeling that. That's too much. So we'll keep our climb. And we'll do a quick 360 to see what we get out of this. I say quick, it's not going to be a particularly fast 360. Dropping to 80 knots right now. We are heavy. That is also something to factor in here. Bring this around, keep coming up. Try and keep us above 75 knots here. We've got some airspeed to play with, but I don't want to actually cash that in just yet. And we are getting up to about 7,400 is where we have to get to, so we're still just over 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet to our destination altitude. So if we can punch in about another 500, 600 here, I'll be very happy. Circling climb just gives us the ability to stay in a place we know we can turn and build the altitude safely, which is really, really important. So that's where we're heading to up there. And I want to be above this stuff when I come in to try and find my landing site. I don't want to be coming up to it and putting down because I have to. Especially not on this kind of terrain. We're going to go for one more. If I'd be happy if I'm at 7,000 by the time I have to head up there. That would be ideal. So once more around the mulberry bush, and we should be good. But this is a strategy you could employ if you're in mountainous terrain to give yourself a margin, because flying is about safety. It's about being in the right position to take advantage of what the aircraft wants to do, but also recognizing its limitations. And I'm trying not to be a preacher here when it comes to aviation safety, but mountain flying and doing it well is all about safety. It's all about precautions, and it's about experience. And without that experience, you end up basically putting yourself in a situation where you are going to not succeed. God, look at that down there. That is beautiful. God, this is gorgeous. Okay, this should be enough now. We're coming up past 7,300. This will be our time. We'll just come on to target here, and we will continue up the valley. Pull the throttle back a little bit here. Drop our nose down. Okay, I'm happy with where we're at here. Let's head ourselves up the valley. We've got more than enough room to play with here. Okay. Now, a turbine engine really lets me do this quite easily, which is nice. Now, Milviz did patch this for Sim Update 9, which is fantastic, and it works great. I would really love to see that Phase 2 they talked about with the steam gauges and the floats. The floats are probably what's delaying it. I know it's delaying it for a lot of other developers who are releasing float versions of their aircraft, because getting floats to behave correctly in this sim is complicated. It's not easy. Not properly. You can make it work, but it will work as jankly as the stock things, but making it work more realistically is much harder. So I think we're over on the right there, just behind that peak. So I'm going to stay left of this valley here. Winds are still, I believe, on destination up at Tasman Saddle Hut. 3 knots or so. It's really calm today, even if it is sunny. Not a cloud in the sky. This is live weather here in New Zealand, and it's beautifully snowy, but really bright. And really bright, cloudless, snowy days can be problematic as well, because you'll get a lot of glare. So this is definitely sunglasses flying weather. Okay. I'm going to try and zoom this in so we got a better idea of where we're heading to. Let's bring ourselves around on target here. Okay, we should be heading to our destination heading right now, which I believe is going to be right here. Okay. Pull the power back here. We want to kind of loiter in this area. So I'm going to power back, reset our prop, and just bring us in kind of gently here, work at what we're doing. So we're looking at the glacier landing site, which I believe is going to be up on here. I'm going to try to work out where I'm going to, is the question. Off to our left. Put a notch of flaps in up here. Give ourselves better slow flight performance. So I believe it's going to be down here on... Is that us over there? Is that the hut up there on that ridge? That looks to be it, I think. I could be wrong, but we'll take a look. And we'll circle back and land if that's the case. This is going to be tricky. There's no markings for a landing zone here. Well, that's a helicopter. Gotta be up here somewhere. Okay. Let's bring this thing around and set ourselves in for a landing. Now, obviously, winds or no winds, you're going to be wanting landing uphill, especially off airport like this. When you've got a slope, uphill is going to break you better, especially when we're dealing with snow. Is that another chopper down there? Look at how they're growing on trees. So we're going to be putting down over there, behind where my co-pilot's head is right now. So I'm going to bring this around and set us up for an approach. We'll see how this looks, and then we'll do what we can. But I want to do a short test approach first to see what it's going to be like. feel out the landing area. We'd obviously have read reports beforehand on snow conditions, surface. When you're landing on snow, snow conditions is super important because you want to know how fresh the powder is, how compact it is. And you're not going to want to land on just purely fresh powder. You're going to want to land on something that's been at least prepared slightly. And if you have to be on fresh powder, you want to know the depth. You want a nice cold night, couple of nights in a row. Get it really hard. Fresh powder can be an unknown factor. Okay. I mean, the landing site is this section of the glacier. The hut, I don't know where it is, but I'm sure people will know. Okay, let's give ourselves flaps notch 2. I don't want this to be a commitment to land, just a check. If we have to go around again, that is absolutely our intent. This is looking a little dramatic, if I do say so. One helicopter down there. Hard to make anything out. I think that's it on the right there ahead of us, so... yeah, that'll be it on the left. Sorry, not the right. Well, there's a plane. Maybe that's where we're meant to be landing, over there, on that rise. Bring the power on here. Not too much pitch, just to clear the rise. Flaps up. Ugh. Give me some speed, please. I'm trying to work out where my space is to do anything with this. We'll come around to the left. We'll come round here. Keep our nose relatively straight here. This is thin air up here. We're playing silly games at 8,300 feet. Yeah, really silly games. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. Ish. Stay with me, airplane. Let's get me past this peak and we should be able to drop our nose and be good. Okay. Okay, we're good. Right, we can make this approach here, and I think I'm going to try and land where that plane is on that lip. That looks like a good setup spot, so... actually, where I made the approach earlier looked fine. We'll do that. Okay. So we'll bring it down here towards this drop in the ridgeline. We'll turn around and we'll put in. Now, this looks like I'm being overly cautious, but this is the kind of considerations and preparation you want to make. Okay, we've got speed here because we're actually descending now. But this is unmarked landing. This is not a place where you definitely want to land. This is going to be snowy up here all the year round with the altitude, but this is not like a compacted, lit, you know, marked runway on a glacier that's compacted. This is fresh snow. So you need to be a little bit careful with selecting a site. Okay, flaps notch 2. Power back. Start our turn for final approach here. Little bit aggressive. We'll keep the nose where we want it. We want to be able to apply some power on the approach to the landing site. Okay, let's give it a little bit of juice here. Okay. But you know what? We will go for that hump where the other plane is. I don't know. I've not looked at the grade of the actual approach point for it, so we're going to land kind of in the middle there where we decided earlier. This should be good for us, I hope. Little bit quick. That's it. That's it. Behave yourself.
Stop.
Oh. 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 Okay, let's get ourselves taxied up next to this. Oh god, sliding, snow, ice. Forwards, please. At least up by that landed helicopter should be a nice safe spot for us to stop. Once we can get some movement here, we are at quite an extreme angle. There's flaps fully retracted here. Okay. This looks pretty level up here, so you can unload your supplies, and if they're landing helicopters, this must be fine for us too. Oh boy. Oh god, no, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Okay, I'm going to cut my fuel here. Because we are... stopped. Oh god, that was a little spicier than I wanted it to be. Let's go take a look around, shall we? So what was that plane over there? If that's a mall, I'm going to be incredibly upset. What did I do? There we go. I pressed some kind of button that reset the camera. If that's a mall, I'm going to be incredibly upset that I don't have one yet in my flying collection. Because the mall is one of those planes I absolutely love, and if they dragged a mall up here, I'd be really surprised. But I'm pretty sure that is the landing area there. We got a little bit overexcited. That's a Porter. Oh, perfect. Maybe I can find a Mount Cook Airlines livery for a Porter. Yeah, this is definitely the landing area, I think. There might be some sort of issue with the Orbex mesh, actually, which could be why this is conflicting. But that is a Pilatus Porter there, so we're in good company. But we landed a little bit off-piste, which is the appropriate language for the snow over here. But look at this. Beautiful mountain ranges, stunning scenery, and it is so bright my eyes are hurting right now just being here. But we're near one of the parked helicopters, which must be near where the actual site is, so we are in the right location. Oh, wow. This is gorgeous, isn't it? Well, hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm going to go trek off and find a hut, I think, because I need a cup of tea after a flight up here in the cold. And maybe one day we'll do some flights back down from the mountain. But that's for another day. Thanks for watching, guys. By the way, thoughts on the NZA simulation scenery? I quite like it. Cheap as well. Really good idea. I bought this out of my own money, by the way. No one sent it to me. I actually kind of think it's fun. Definitely adds a lot of reason to go somewhere and fly somewhere new. Which, for me, is what Flight Sim's about. Thanks for watching. Bye.